Hello everyone, it's Stasha Erickson from The Message. I hope you're all doing well today. It is the 26th of September of 2015, and I'm here today with a short video to talk a bit more about Saturn and the Black Cube. Now, I took a break from discussing these topics for about 4 months, as whenever I take some time to go within and listen to the messages that I'm receiving, I'm very flooded with a lot of information from Spirit. And there's many topics that have been brought to my attention over this past year. And the main topics that have been brought to my attention were the Kaaba or Black Cube mosque in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, the Black Stone, which is a part of the structure of the Mecca building, of the Kaaba building in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. That's the Black Stone, which talks about it was possibly Lucifer's stone. There's a lot of history behind that stone. And then the other topic that has been coming up a lot for me is Saturn. So I made 3 classes about these topics earlier this year. One of them was called the Kaaba Educational Audio Series. I have actually recently released that to the public for free because I felt that it was extremely important. But a lot of people on my YouTube channel and on Facebook and Twitter and elsewhere on the internet wasn't quite sure of where I was coming from with this, did not quite understand how important it was, and due to the recent events that have happened over the past 2 weeks in Saudi Arabia, I feel like this topic just simply cannot be ignored any further. If you're not aware, there was an event on September 11th of this year at the actual Kaaba building. They had a crane going on, and they were adding some construction and getting things ready for the Hajj pilgrimage, which lasts for 5 days. I also have discussed this Hajj pilgrimage, the 5 pillars of Islam, and everything that go along with this structure in the Kaaba Educational Audio Series. So if you would like to hear that, again, I've released that for free, both on my website, themessagesonline.com, and also on my YouTube channel. But anyway, let's get back to the topic here. So on September 11th, they were at the mosque, and they had a crane, and they were building something, some type of a tower or a spire or antenna or something they were adding to the mosque. And during that time, the crane that they were using to build up above the structure collapsed, and 107 people died. Now, the number 107 has a lot of esoteric meanings. Now, some people believe that 107 is an evil number. Some people might want to attach it to Satan, basically directly. But there's a lot more esoteric meanings regarding the number 107. So anyway, I won't really get into the whole 107 meaning. You guys can do a little bit of research on that yourself. But from what I believed is this number 107 was representing basically God being angry. God being angry with something being manipulated against him. So this is a number that was supposed to be representing God's judgment. Now, 13 days later, now we all know what September 11th is all about. We have Revelation 9:11, which talks about all these type of destructions. We have September 11th, 2001, which we all know what that was about. 9/11 is an occultic, ritualistic date. Some people and scholars believe that Jesus' true birthday was 9/11 as well, and that's why they like to do a lot of destructive things on his birthday. So regardless of what's really going on here, there's definitely something going on. So 13 days after the crane collapsed on September 11th, an additional disaster occurred. While the pilgrims were doing their pilgrimage from Mecca to Mina, which was about, I think Mina is about 2 miles away from the location of Mecca, the mosque. While the pilgrims were taking their journey from one part of their ritual to the next, they were coming up to the next part of the ritual, which was known as the stoning of the devil ceremony. Now, the Muslim people say that this ceremony is a part of the Hajj pilgrimage, where you go and you take stones and you throw them at these pillars that are supposed to represent the spot where Abraham rejected the devil and all of his evil doings. So the pilgrims go and they throw stones over and over again at this pillar. Well, there was so much activity and hustle and bustle going on there and commotion that the pilgrims were rushing their journey. People were not prepared. They were exhaustion. There was exhaustion. There was dehydration. It basically got completely out of control. And long story short, while these pilgrims were pushing and going from one aspect of the ritual to the next part, somehow in the process, a massive stampede happened. During the stampede, 717 people were killed. An additional 900 people were injured. Now again, this just happened a couple of days ago, 13 days after the first incident in Mecca. This is a lot of people, guys. That's about 1,600 people that were, combined, that were murdered and injured and died. So what the heck is going on? So we'll get back to the numerology again. What does the number 717 stand for? Well, the number 717 also directs back to God. This is supposed to be the number of God. In the Hebrew text, God's name and number is represented by Yah-H-Vah-H, or YHVH. And those numbers, numerologically, and when you actually look at them in Hebrew, spell out the number 717. So again, does this represent the hand of God stopping these people from their manipulation? Or does this represent the devil fighting back to the stoning ritual? Maybe he's not too impressed with a ceremony called stoning of the devil. I don't know what's happening. But this is a really big deal. And whether these are the actual numbers of people that died, or whether the media has planted these esoteric numbers into these stories just so people can draw attention to it, or so that it becomes more of a ritual, I don't know. But something really big is going on here. So that is why I had to release the Kabbalah educational audio series to the public for free. I only charge €5 for my classes, and they honestly take me a lot of work. I make long, detailed ebooks along with them, and each class is about an hour long as well. So I'm really not charging much to begin with, but this is how I make a living, is to create and teach classes. But there's some things that come to me divinely that I just have to share with the world. So again, if you've heard about these disasters, if you think there's something strange going on, whether you're Islamic or not, it's really important that you take a listen to this class. So another thing that I wanted to get at here is, what the heck is actually going on here? Obviously, I've made multiple classes about this topic, and I'm always trying to dive a little bit deeper into all of these synchronicities. But at this time, I just want to dive in a little bit more. I've had some additional notes on these subjects, the subject of the black cube of Saturn, because they're one and the same. They are connected. Saturn has absolutely everything to do with Islam, with the mosque in Mecca, with the Kaaba building, with all of these things. But is it common knowledge to the rest of the world? Probably not. So, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I am a truth teller, and I'm a researcher, and I'm a historian. And when I see things affecting the rest of this planet over and over again, I feel like it is my duty to dive into these topics a little bit deeper and find out what the meanings are, even further beneath the surface. So I'm just going to show you guys a few images here, and I'm just going to show you some more information about Saturn itself. And please just go out and do your own research about these topics. I have 2 additional classes on my website, and the second one is the Black Stone educational audio class. Again, this is the Black Stone. It's known as Lucifer Stone. It is one of the 4 corners of the actual Kaaba building in Mecca. If you check out Kaaba, the educational audio series, and you listen to this podcast, and you still feel like you would like to learn more, please check out the Black Stone class. Again, it's just €5. And I also have the next class, which I did after that, which is called Saturn 101. That's also just €5 and comes with an ebook as well. So those 2 are available in my web store, my website at this time. However, I'm just going to continue to create these classes, and once a class has been out long enough, I will continue to release it for free, because, you know, this is just stuff that I can't sit around and know about and not share with the world. So I'm going to show you guys a few images and give you some more information and ways to recognize Saturn and this black cube and this deception. And then please, you know, go out and do some more of your research on your own as well, so that you can see that this is not just me sitting here, you know, dishing out a load of propaganda that I want people to jump on a bandwagon. I don't have an agenda here other than bringing the truth to the public. This type of manipulation has been going on for far too long, and you know, we all just have to do our part to share what truths that we know through our own experience. Okay, now, one of the first images I'm going to show you here is known as the sigil of Saturn. So if you see this symbol anywhere, you will start to notice that this symbol is actually kind of found all over the place. It's represented by the XX symbol as well. I remember when my husband and I were doing some healing last year, we were in Amsterdam, and everywhere we went in Amsterdam where there was these double X's or triple X's everywhere you went. And we thought, oh, haha, that's funny, you know, Amsterdam, sex, all that stuff, must be triple X. But everywhere we would go, we were literally seeing these double X's or triple X's everywhere. So now that I've done the research, I figured out that the sigil of Saturn is kind of these double X's. And it's really depicted in numerous ways all over pop culture and media, music, symbology, artwork, everything. But it's so in front of our face that it's almost hidden. But there's the sigil of Saturn, so take a look at that and become familiar with it and see if you start noticing it out there in the world, because it's everywhere. Now, there is also another image here, which is known as the square of Saturn. Now, it's also the modern representation of the low shoe square as a magic square. Now, this magic square is comprised of 3, 6, 9 numbers. And at the top row, it says 498. The next row says 1173. And the final row says 6510. A low shoe is part of the legacy of the most ancient Chinese mathematical and divinatory traditions, and is an important emblem in Feng Shui, the art of geomancy concerned with the placement of objects in relation to the flow of qi or natural energy. So people are using the square of Saturn to do everything from decorating their homes to get the flow that they want and the power that they want, to how they are constructing buildings all over this planet that are owned by these people. This goes all the way back to like stonemasonry and Freemasonry. Okay, now here is another image. This is known as the symbol of Saturn. And then this next image that I'm going to show you here is a page from a book about occult philosophy. On page 244, you will see a breakdown of all of these symbols again. You'll see the table of Saturn, and then you can see the table of Saturn in Hebrew, and I believe you'll see the like 717 mixed in there as well. And then there are more seals of Saturn. That's the double X. There's one known as the intelligence of Saturn, which looks kind of like a serpent with 2 heads. And then there is of the spirit of Saturn, which is yet another strange symbol. And then there's also the table of Jupiter, and the different symbols of Jupiter, because what we spoke about before, and if you do check out the Saturn 101 class, we talk about that Jupiter is meant to be the son of Saturn. Now, in some symbology, Saturn is represented by Satan, and Jupiter is represented by Lucifer. They're definitely different characters. For those of you who believe that they are one and the same, they are not. Please do the research. Okay, now the next image that I am going to show you here as well is the hexagon, which is formed by the cymatics of Saturn. So you can see here what this hexagon really is the Star of David. And when you have that symbol standing straight up, you will notice that in the center there, the sigil of Saturn is kind of displayed on the parallels of this. It connects all of the outer and inner lines to really make a box or a cube or a hexagon. And really, when you look at a cube from a 3D perspective, what is it but a pyramid? So there's another connection here to do with the pyramid. Now, in my class about Saturn, I also spoke about the hexagonal shape that is located on the south pole of Saturn as well. It's either the northern or the southern pole. But the actual energy of the top, or it's either the top or the bottom of the planet, has a permanent hexagonal shape, which clouds and gases and all of these things are moving in and out of at all times, yet it's constantly keeping this shape of a hexagon. Very strange yet again. Now, there's another video that you can check out on YouTube, and that is known as Cymatics on Saturn. Please take a look at this video. Just go to YouTube and type in Cymatics on Saturn. Now, cymatics are a kind of physical representation of what sound waves do to matter. So certain sounds and certain tones and notes and chords, when they are played near objects, like, I'm trying to think of one of the ways they use cymatics is kind of like with sand and things like that. You can basically pour a bunch of sand on the top of a plate, and when you vocalize certain tones towards the sand will begin to take different shapes, geometrical shapes, and depending on what the tones are will be the different shape that forms in these patterns. So there's some similar hexagonal structures found at Rosslyn Chapel. There's a lot of cubes made up of Rosslyn Chapel, and I believe there's a huge link to the cymatics on Saturn with the cubes found at Rosslyn Chapel. So please do a little bit of research on that. Again, the video on YouTube is called Cymatics on Saturn. Please check it out. Now we'll talk a little bit more about the Saturn hexagon. Now, on March 27th of 2007, there was an article posted, Saturn hexagon mystifies scientists. A long-lived double hexagon formed in the clouds. The two six-sided features, one inside the other, are in stark contrast to the hurricane-like vortex that has been observed at the ringed planet's south pole. Okay, south pole. I had it wrong the first time. Both poles have been imagined by NASA's orbiting Cassini spacecraft. We haven't seen a geometric feature like this anywhere else on any other planet, said Cassini scientist Kevin Baines of the NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It is unbelievable. So here we go. What the heck is this hexagonal shape? Even the lads at NASA don't even know what it is. Now, beyond that, we have another link here, which is linking us to the Seal of Solomon. Now, in medieval Jewish, Christian, and Islamic legends, the Seal of Solomon was a magical signet ring said to have been possessed by King Solomon. which variously gave him the power to command demons, genies, or jinn, or to speak with animals. Okay, now here is the Seal of Solomon. What is the Seal of Solomon? Yet again, but the Star of David. I have a feeling this series is going to end up leading up to a class that I will do on the Babylonian Talmud as well, because it's all coming up here again. It's all absolutely linked. Now, the double X, or the XX, is known as the Sigil of Saturn, or the Seal of Saturn. Semitic civilizations referred to the god Saturn as El. El. The supreme deity was represented by a black cube. We can find instances of the cube across the world. Saturn is also dubbed as the Lord of the Rings. This is the reason why we exchange rings at weddings or put halos on the heads of godly people. In the Lord of the Rings film, the all-seeing eye of Sauron is the all-seeing eye of Saturn. So here we go. There's a musical group called the XX. Do they know what their seal is? Probably. Lord of the Rings, the Eye of Sauron, the Eye of Saturn. I mean, it's pretty kind of obvious at this point. Now, you can find black cubes all over the world. There's a massive black cube in Santa Ana. There's a massive black cube at the Apple Computer Store in NYC. There's another massive Apple Store cube in NYC. And it's basically all kind of glass. It's called the Astor Place Cube in the East Village of New York City. In Manhattan, there is a large red cube with a circle going through it. There's another black cube that can be found in Denmark. Another black cube that can be found in Australia. It goes on and on and on and on. Even Nissan came out with a car called the Black Nissan Cube. And speaking of Nissan, the logo of Nissan is also Saturn. If you look at the shape of the Nissan logo, there we go again. Now, in the Jewish religion, you will also see that many of the priests or rabbis wear a black cube on their head, right on the center of their head. And the placement of it, which I find is very strange, seems to be where you would actually find the horn of a unicorn. So there's a lot of symbolism with unicorns and Saturn as well, which I will get into at a later time, but it's no mistake of where they place the cube on the forehead. Then we got Nintendo GameCube. It's also black. And we even have the Sega Saturn, which is also very similar. And then, of course, we have the good old Kaaba building in Mecca. The Kaaba is a cube-shaped building in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and it is the most sacred site in Islam. The Quran states that the Kaaba was constructed by Abraham and his son Ishmael, after Ishmael had settled in Arabia. The building has a mosque built around it, the Masjid al-Haram. All Muslims around the world face the Kaaba during prayers, no matter where they are in the world. I spoke about that in detail also in the Kaaba class as well. Now, we can also go back as far as in the film 2001: A Space Odyssey. There is a screen capture of the monolith from the first film here. Now, in the film Space Odyssey, the main character flies into the giant black monolith in space with his repair pod, and he's flying in, and he goes through this crazy time warp vortex thingy. He meets himself and sees himself go through all the stages of life, as if time didn't exist anymore. He became this type of interdimensional entity that is one with the monoliths, and he remembers his memories, but he isn't himself anymore. He can perform interdimensional travel, and in the later books, he does other things that he later discovers he can do. He's almost like a Superman. And Superman, again, has a lot of synchronicities and symbolism back to Saturn. Now, there was also the Borg from the Star Trek series. And they basically fly into spacecrafts that go right into giant black cubes as well. Now, the archetypal Borg cube is a variety of immense cubic starship that functions as part of the Borg collective on Star Trek. The Borg are a fictional pseudo-race of cybernetic organisms depicted in the Star Trek universe. In the Star Trek fictional universe, assimilation is the process by which the Borg integrate beings and cultures into their collective. "You will be assimilated" is one of the few on-screen phrases employed by the Borg when communicating with other species. The Borg are portrayed as having encountered and assimilated thousands of species and billions to trillions of individual life forms throughout the galaxy. The Borg designate each species with a number assigned to them upon first contact. So it just goes on and on and on and on. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about the links to the Kaaba here. Now, the Sephirot, or Sephiroth, meaning enumerations, are the 10 attributes or emanations in Kabbalah, through which God, who is referred to as Ein Sof, the infinite, reveals himself and continuously creates both the physical realm and the chain of higher metaphysical realms. The Klipoth refers to the representation of evil or impure spiritual forces in Jewish mysticism. In subsequent Hermetic teachings, the Klipoth have tended, much like the Sephiroth, to be interpreted as mystical worlds or entities and merged with ideas derived from demonology. So when you're looking at the Kabbalistic tree of lives, you will just see cube after cube, hexagon after hexagon, Star of David. It's everywhere. And then when you actually turn it to the side completely, you will see, here we go again with Saturn's double X. Now, Da'at or Da'as means knowledge in Jewish mysticism, called the Kabbalah. It is the location or the mystical state where all 10 Sephirot in the Tree of Life are united as one. In Da'at, all Sephirot exist in their perfected state of infinite sharing. Da'at can be rearranged to spell data, seeing how its meaning is knowledge. Data makes a lot of sense. Data is stored information. And that brings us back to Data from Star Trek. Data was an android that seemed to know just about everything. So, as you can see, this symbolism is basically everywhere. It's just so deep. When we go, okay, let's talk about the square and compass then. The square and compass of Freemasonry, when you draw red lines from the top down to the bottom and the side, we have yet again the seal of Saturn. So it's really, it really kind of just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And this is why you can see that I can literally be, kind of never done researching this subject. But these are basically just a few things that I have noticed that are coming up over and over again that really can't, be denied any further. There's definitely something very strange going on here, and it has a lot to do with very, very, very old Jewish mysticism. And unfortunately, these type of religions become fads where everyone and their mother was walking around with a Kabbalah bracelet for a while, not knowing what it meant, just because Madonna thought it was cool. Well, let's really take a look back at what Madonna has brought to this planet. Has she brought anything good? Has she brought anything uplifting? Has she brought anything that is full of substance? Has she brought any integrity to her children or her family? No. So why would you ever think that a religion that this type of person is following is something that everybody should jump on? When I was living in Hollywood, everywhere I went, I saw somebody with a red tie around their wrist. And I thought, okay, something's going on here. So if you think that the Kabbalah is this lovely new age kind of spiritual religion, it's really not. It is based off of very old, dark, black magic. This goes back to the Solomon seal. And what did they say Solomon was doing? He was summoning jinn. He was summoning genies. He was making demons build Solomon's temple. Where are the remains of Solomon's temple now? Do any of you know that? The remains of Solomon's temple are located underneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. They won't allow any archaeologist to go down there and excavate it, yet I have a feeling there's many beings, and human and otherworldly beings as well, that have access to the Temple of Solomon down below the Temple Mount. So why are there all these holy wars? Is this really about oil? Is it really about money? Or is this about something deeper? Is this about something spiritual? Is this about something religious? Can they be totally separate, religion and spirituality? At this point, yes, they can. You have to find your faith deep within your heart. You cannot find your faith in a book or in a ritual. Faith is located within your heart. It's just what Jesus spoke about in the Bible. The kingdom of God is within you. This is nothing that a ritual of stoning the devil or doing a pilgrimage for 5 days and hiking through heat and exhaustion and being trampled to death. And I mean, this is like, is this what you think that you have to do to make God love you or to fulfill your purpose on this planet? Because I truly believe that many people believe this, that they have to pray, they have to do rituals, they have to do all of these things. Prayer should never be an act of asking for something. Praying is very important. It is okay to check in with your God and with your Creator. But don't ask for things. Give thanks. These type of religious structures are built off of guilt and shame and punishment. I don't see where the love has any room to grow or to fit into structures like this. So we have to continue to educate ourselves about what is ruling this planet. Because at this point, it is religion. And it is a massive deception. So I say, go out there today and find your faith within your heart. You have to start detaching from these organized religions. They were set up as a setup for all of you to fall into this trap. Whether this be Christian, Muslim, it doesn't matter. Jewish, Buddhism even, Hinduism even. We can get really deep. There's something much deeper hidden below Buddhism and Hinduism and all of these Eastern religions as well. This goes back to the times that I've spoken about how dangerous deep meditation can be. It's fine to check in for 5 minutes and reset yourself and get some messages from God, but hours of meditation, there's something wrong there. God built you perfect. So if you feel that you're flawed and that you need to spend hours upon hours a day praying and meditating and throwing stones at walls so that you can go to heaven or so that you have a great afterlife, you have completely missed the whole point of being on this planet. It is about substance, it's about structure, it's about integrity, it's about love, it's about passion, it's about forgiveness, it's about compassion. But most of all, it is about love and truth, not manipulation and lies. So even if many of you still don't understand where I'm coming from with this, please just do the research yourself. Just go onto Google, go onto YouTube, go onto Wikipedia, type in Saturn, type in the black cube. Just educate yourselves a little bit. Because when we're aware of what's going on out there, it can no longer control us. So So just educate yourself. We don't need to fight back. We don't need to cause some holy war of, oh, now we know what Islam is up to. We got to fight back. Oh, now we know what the Jewish people are up to. We got to fight back. Oh, now we know what the Catholics are up to. We got to fight back. No. This is the mistake that humanity is making all of the time, is the constant fighting back, the constant rebellions. The fighting it needs to cease now. It is time for peace. Peace, love, creation, and positivity. This is what I pray for all of you at this time. That's what my prayers will consist of for all of you at this time. So that's where I'll wrap it up today. This was going to just be a short little video, but as you can see, that Saturn and the black cube and all of these things are really deep. And, I don't know if I'll ever be done researching these topics, but as I continue to learn things and feel that I can share some things with all of you, I will always continue to release information to the public. As I mentioned before, I have one of my 3 classes is free now on the messagesonline.com, and that is the Kaaba Black Cube Mecca class. And then the additional 2 classes that I have for purchase are the Blackstone 101 and Saturn 101. Again, both of those are just €5. I will continue to release more classes as I have time and as internet permits, and I will continue to release them here on this channel and on my website, themessagesonline.com. I want to thank all of you ever so much for continuing to stay with me, continuing to receive these messages in a positive way. And please know that you are loved. You are not alone in this universe. Hey, the world did not end. We were right. We're all still here. So let's stay positive. Let's create things. Let's put out good stuff so that we can really, truly just start to be happy. We don't have to fix the world overnight. We don't have to do all these big, out of reach, over the top things. We just have to learn how to be happy. Put one foot in front of the other each day and make the next right decision every time you're presented with options and choices. Choose from your heart and find your peace. Okay, guys, I love you ever so much. If these videos helped you, feel free to leave a donation on our donation page, as our website and all of our service are completely donor supported by people like you. If you have topic suggestions for further podcasts or for further classes, please leave those on the contact page of my website, themessagesonline.com. There is a form there where you can send your name and your email and whatever questions or topics you have, and I will receive that directly. And I just really look forward to helping as many more of you as I possibly can during this process. I'm still learning. I will always be a lifelong student, so I definitely am not an expert in these topics, but if things are coming up over and over and over again and I'm not discussing them, then I feel like I'm really holding back. So thank you for allowing me to share this information with all of you today. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you're all doing well. Sending love and peace and strength from Norway, and I will be back with more.